Yeah, there we go. Alrighty. So, hello everyone. I'm just wondering who's going to join us today and what we're going to talk about. So, feel free to let flow with the questions, or you can talk about anything you want today. It is 10 a.m. Saturday morning. Hey, Jeannie, how you doing? Good to see you. How's your day going? Got a lot going on around here at the moment. It's kind of busy and all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Actually, I do have a good book recommend. I'll share with you in a sec. No, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's all good, mate. Um, I've been reading this book for a little while now. I find it very interesting, very good. You know, that's the Shihengi. Okay, it's called the Shaolin Spirit. I think it's a really good book. So, if anyone's interested, and some different insights and philosophies of different cultures, I quite like the some of the philosophies of different cultures like that. So, interesting book. And oh yeah, he's good. He's very. I mean, he's very popular. So um, he's doing a world tour at the moment as well. He's written a few books actually. This is just one of them. Um, actually, they have a 12. They have a number of free courses actually through the European temple, Shaolin Temple in Europe, in Germany, um, which I'm doing a few of at the moment. Very interesting stuff. So really cool. A lot to do with, I really like the philosophies they have, talking about breath work, and the reason why they do breath work and control their breathing and so on for different movements that they have. You know, they uh, they believe in really like very strict on their breath control, and they're breathing in as much as they can, for example, and holding on to it, because it's like, they're talking about chi, like energy and life force from everything around you, So really cool stuff. Getting into that at the moment. Um, mm. So it's a Australia Day weekend here in Australia, and it's always, of course, you get the lunatics on the left that want everyone to forget it and so on. But I think it's a weekend. It's a day that we celebrate as a country, as one whole country, and I think that should always be celebrated. Of course, we're not allowed to. Yeah, I'm sick of hearing about it too myself. Actually, I'm kind of sick of hearing about it. But it's the crazy so-called speech laws here in Australia is it's driving people crazy already, and they're trying to push through these laws without voting on them in Parliament in Australia. So anyone who speaks up against it, or thinks differently to the so-called you know politician class, the ones that are running the country at the moment, they send the police around to your door and take you off to jail. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane what's going on in Australia. I mean, it's going on all over the world in the moment. Like the UK is just as bad, but probably worse actually in the UK at the moment. Uh, this light seems to be coming in and out. I guess maybe I'll put some more light on for you. Yeah, sick of the drama. Yeah, I think most people are sick of the drama. Most people are fed up, aren't they? Just fed up with all the absolute BS. Sick of being lied to, sick of being used, sick of being held hostage, having everything, having our rights held hostage, by people who think they have the right to take our rights away from us. That, like, I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, like, do you seriously need a piece of paper to tell you that you don't have it, or you do have the right to speak? Who the hell are these other people that try and tell us what we can and can't do? These politicians and so on. They don't run our lives. They're not there to run our lives. They're there to run the country, and that's it. They work for us. Nothing but slime balls. My faith in people is diminishing by the day. Yeah, me too. Unfortunately, it is. Seems like the more you find out, the more your faith in people diminishes, isn't it? And it just seems to get worse on a day by day basis, doesn't it? And you think, I mean, no one's perfect 100% of the time. Like, no one has all the answers, right? So we sort of take what we can get from different places, and we sort of try and piece everything together like a jigsaw. Even with like some of these, I'm doing some pretty cool things at the moment with these different learning these different breath techniques and breath cultures and so on. Some of it is great, some of it's really interesting, and some of it's just complete crap. It's just utter nonsense. But that's just people, isn't it? It's the problem. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't matter what it is, like whether it's like a certain culture or a certain belief or a certain ideology of any kind, or especially politics or anything like that. There is always going to be some thing that you may agree with, or something that you like, even. But there's always going to be some degree where it's just utter nonsense as well. Hey, Quacker, how's it going, Rick? Hey, good to see you. Cynthia, how are you doing? Good to see you too. US is getting a bit scary on our freedom of speech stuff too, also. Hey. Yeah, well, I mean, different parts of America, though, at least you have, like, different states. In America, you have different states that are actually a lot freer than some others. Like you would never go to, like, no one's moving to California, for example. Everyone's moving out of California, to different states. Problem with Australia, it doesn't matter where you go. It's all the same. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah, good to see you, Rick, man. Let me a second. Let me see. Tell you what, if anyone wishes to join me today, I'm just going to post this link in here. There we go. There is the link. You're all more than welcome. Actually, let's do that. Let's not do that. Quack, quack. Yeah. So, yeah, actually, I saw that post you saw the other day, like kids stomping that duck in Florida. Jesus, there's some psychopathic little kids around, aren't there? It's good to see everyone today. It's Saturday morning here, so I guess it's Friday night for all of you Americans at the moment. Hope it's not too late. But yeah, I'm just going to have a bit of a cozy chat if you want today, and talk about anything. The crazy, like these speech laws that they're trying to put into Australia, though. I mean, like I said before, they're just going to rush them through. They're trying to rush them through without anyone voting on them, right? So not even other politicians get to vote on these draconian laws. And so it leaves a big question mark as to, for a lot of people, actually, who use social media, for example. Like, we've already got an age restriction, and every time you go to a different website now here in Australia, you have to prove your age, do like these photo scans of your face and all this other crap. But it's these speech laws. Actually posted a video of this a lawyer explaining this on Facebook the other day. like who decides, what's hate speech and what's not, sort of thing. And obviously, anyone who speaks up against or has a different opinion to these politicians will end up in jail. You know, and like I said before, like who the hell do these people think that they are, that they can tell us how to live? They have no more rights to do that than anyone else in this country. They're just politicians that should be working for us. You know, and everyone says, "Oh, refer back to the Constitution," all this sort of stuff. It gives us. I don't give a crap about the Constitution, honestly. Do you really need a piece of paper to tell you you have the right to speak or you have the right to do something or not? You know, absolute bloody nonsense. The whole freaking thing. Seriously. Is Milton still left to have a Miss Kitty? Yeah, good question. Yeah. Milton went back to sleep. Okay. Yeah. Not so energetic these days, yeah. I would like to see the duck stomping kid throw. Yeah, throw to the gate. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see him try that with some gators, mate. Yeah, I hate the hate speech crap. Yeah, exactly. It's just, I mean, again, like it's always been like history has always been the same, right? It's always been like giving up freedoms, to for these people to take like total control under the guise of saving someone or protecting the the population, sort of thing. It's always been the same lie. Like they just keep regurgitating the same BS over and over and over again. So it's for this reason. It's for your protection that we're doing this. Like that we're taking your freedoms away. But again, like, do you really need? It's the whole nanny state sort of thing, and people just don't like to think for themselves, I guess. But what do you do? You know, what do you do? So it's the way it is. It's pretty warm over here in Australia. It's I know, like there's a big actually I'm not sure if you guys saw the big snowfall in Russia. Like, it buried like entire apartment buildings, right? Huge, well, I suppose the ice age coming in. I mean, it's that time of the cycle, isn't it? It's like every 30 years or so, the sun cycle will get a bit further away from the sun, and we get plunged into a bit of a cold period. So much for global warming. Hello, Josephine. Good to see you. Hmm. Yeah, it looks like might get a bit of rain today, hopefully. Might cool it down a bit because it's pretty damn humid and hot. So it's always hot though. It's Australia Day weekend, isn't it? It's always pretty hot. Wake up with minus 33 degrees temps this morning. Yeah, wood stove is cooking. Wow, that's cold. Wow, that is absolutely freezing, Cynthia. I think you told me where. I think it was. I forget where you told me you live, but it must be a damn cold place anyway. Lovely and cool here in Glen Innes. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah, it's summer here, so yeah, Queensland, far north Queensland is kind of like Florida weather. It's very humid, very yeah, it's always hot. Even winter is pretty warm. Like you just walk around in shorts and t-shirt. So it's or it's just shirt, light clothes anyway. So yeah. Um there's yeah, I suppose it's not hasn't been too bad though, of course. Like it's I've had much hotter summers here. Some summers, it's reached nearly 50 degrees out here, so Celsius. Right? So it's like 100 and I don't know, like 15, 118 degrees or something. What was it like Fahrenheit, something like that? Crazy heat anyway. Yeah, it gets pretty hot. Lasted 2 years in Cairns. Yeah, I couldn't stand it. Yeah, it's super humid in Cairns. Yeah, super humid. Mm. Um, but like Cairns has some beautiful beaches, and I mean, it's really tropical. Lots of rainforest as well. If you go up to the rainforest, up to the back of it, um, it's nice and cool in there, though. Hey, Sandy, how you doing? Nice to see you. Mm. Again, guys, today is just a you know cozy chat. If you have any questions, though, of course, I'm always happy to answer them. The links in the chat there as well. If you want to join in, that's all good too. Always happy to have people come in and join the chat. So, just going over some of the the crazy speech laws that are coming into Australia at the moment. This whole thing though too is like Australia with this age limit on social media as well. Like you have to be over 16, I think it is. But they're trying to enforce that not just in Australia. They're trying to spread that around the world, right? Because it hasn't been successful. They haven't been like the Democrats couldn't do it in America, and they haven't been able to do as much in the UK, although the UK is obviously very bad at the moment. But the Australian government's trying to force it on the rest of the world as well. It's just insane. Milton, wake up. That's good. Yeah, he's a great cat. Yeah, they tend to lose a lot of. I mean, they tend make more friends, obviously, after Little Miss Kitty, obviously. But when they lose their package, they don't seem to have enough energy to sort of go after them, do they? Howdy, quack man, Rick. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here in Australia after these laws come in. It's going to be very restrictive, obviously, and going to be difficult for people to sort of speak their mind on YouTube. I mean, it's difficult enough as it is, obviously. Um, we start talking about eating meat. Some half-wits probably going to get offended and have us all arrested or something, or have us blocked on YouTube or something. Who knows? Saw a few stupid women saying Jacinta, oh my God, was a great leader. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always you always get like this certain percentage of women, especially that because there was a female leader, not that anyone's really like 100% sure that uh, Ardern was actually female, but that's another story, isn't it? But they always say, "Oh, she did a great job. She did, she's great." And, just simply because she's a woman, not because she had any good policies or anything like that. I mean, she was a crackhead for one, and just pure evil. You know, yeah, must support female leaders. Absolute nonsense. You know, actually, I mean, like, I've got people in my family that just, the orange man bad and all this other stuff. And Jacinda Ardern, she was brilliant. New Zealand were lucky to have her. I'm pretty sure if you ask, Kiwis, most Kiwis, they wouldn't feel the same way. So, but that's just the way it is, isn't it? People are sheeple at times, and that's just you can't convince some people, and you can't force people to wake up, can you? But it's just hopefully we can have enough people wake up in Australia that we can get rid of these criminal politicians. Is Milton still attacking you, Rick? Yeah, I think he's gotten a lot better, hasn't he, Rick? Yeah, these people blow my yeah, they do too. I agree. Yeah, they do blow my mind as well. It's like it really does blow my mind that people just can't see what's going on. It's like I don't know what's going through their head, honestly. Like they can't understand simple. I mean, they get their heads stuck in the TV. They just follow the news. They think, oh, if it's not on the news, then it can't be real, right? They don't realize, these people are just flat out lying to them. They're saying the mainstream media that are nothing but sponsored, corporate sponsored sort of propaganda networks. And it's crazy. And of course, you get these different biases. So crazy. Like I remember years ago. Not that I'm a Fox fan or anything, but you know, if it was Fox, it was like, oh, that it's all fake news because it's owned by this billionaire. I forget his name, but Australian billionaire and so on. Never mind the fact that MSNBC and CNN and all these other ones are all run by these other pure evil billionaires that not only do that, but you know always funding vaccines and so on as well. But no, they can't connect the dots. It's it's crazy. And of course, they're just repeating what they heard on the news. Like CNN tells them, oh, Fox is fake news, and Fox News will say CNN's fake news, and they just it's all the same shit. It's crazy. Murdoch, that's it. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch. Thanks, Rick. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch. It's just crazy world. It really is, and people just don't get it. It's like it's the same with like here in Australia, it's just one big party, right? It's like you got the crazy Greens, then you've got which are communists, right? Then you've got Labor, which is the ones running the show at the moment. But then you have what's called the Liberal Party, and Liberals. It's supposed to be here, like in Australia, the Liberal Party is supposed to be conservative, right? Supposedly, right? But it's all just one big party, and they all work for these big corporations and so on, and these socialist groups and like Labor Party leaders, for example, every one of their leaders have always been part of what they call the Fabians, the Fabian socialist group, right? Cult, basically, a Fabian cult, which actually started in the UK, and the UK Labor Party is the same. So whenever you get these crazy people, it's like, oh, you got to vote Liberals because it's always the opposite party to the one that's in, because they always complain about the politicians that are running the country at the time, right? So it's always the you got to vote for the other party, and they just don't get it. It's all the same. I can't believe people think Pauline Hanson is going to help. Yeah, well, who knows? I just don't think they'd get the votes anyway, honestly. So it's just it's going to be in Australia. It's very difficult to predict what's going to happen because honestly, there's just no one there that is really has the power to do anything about it. Really. So there's one of the biggest reasons, like Australians are jumping ship, really like traditional like family Australians that actually grew up here and so on, not the ones that they're importing by boats and so on. But most Australians are jumping ship and they're going anywhere they can to get out of Australia at the moment. And like literally like thousands of people every week are leaving Australia. Like Australians are anyway. The government keeps bringing in tens of thousands every week anyway. Replacing the population basically. So it's a crazy old world. It really is. Yeah. And obviously if all the politicians here work for the central bank, then obviously they can't lose, can they? Anyway, that's what happens. But Australia's never had the freedom that America has either. It's always been under rule of colony rule and so on. It's a funny thing, like when you talk about like even investments, right? talking about gold, silver, and I think probably the next big sort of metal in Australia is going to be popular all around the world. It's probably going to be copper. But back in the gold rush days in Australia, they like I know like all these investment guys always say, "Oh, we've got a good history when it comes to precious metals because the government has never outlawed it in Australia like they have in other places." Like when they went to the gold standard, or it went from the gold standard to the petrodollar, right? But back in the gold rush days and stuff like that, they deliberately did indeed suppress it and actually take it from the people as well. And I don't have any doubt they'd do the same again here. But that's again, predicting the future is kind of difficult at the moment here anyway. All governments work for this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If they have debt, exactly. Yeah. And they could just keep running out the debt, let they keep running out the debt like that through the health system as well. The health system is one of the biggest drain on, the economy. That's why they like people sick. They keep the country in debt. That means that they all work for the bankers. Oh, absolutely. I would definitely leave Australia, go back to Japan. Not that Japan is much better off. I mean, it's just like the cost of living. Like Japan is so much cheaper, cost of living wise, and much easier to get things done. And they don't have the draconian sort of laws there. So like they're just a little bit behind us in that respect. So they're actually much more. It's actually much more freedom in Japan than there is here in Australia, which is kind of most people wouldn't sort of believe that, but there actually is a lot more freedoms. Yeah, it's much easier to get anything done or do anything in Japan than it is in Australia. So, okay, it's pushing Bitcoin, but I don't trust that either. Well, I mean, the good thing about Bitcoin is that it's decentralized, right? So no government can shut it down, and they can't access your Bitcoin. The problem is, I mean, it's very valuable now compared to like one Bitcoin is like 140,000 Australian dollars, right? So you need 140,000 of these because that's not because like Bitcoin's actually gained value. It's because our dollars lost so much value, really. But yeah, it is a lot safer than I suppose investment wise, it's something that's easy. You can carry it with you wherever you go around the world. You can access it from everywhere in the world yourself. No one else can access it if you have the right safety sort of tools in place. But for in order for it to be like a replacement currency, it needs to build more more confidence, like in people. People need to be more confident in using it. It needs to be able to buy stuff, practical stuff with it. Because at the moment, like, and that's all currency is all about. It's like the petrodollar is just based on oil, which is like one of the most common things that you can get on the planet. It's worthless. It really is. It's just paper money. It's crap. But people have faith in it, and we've been using it for a long time. So, but there are difficult situations where you can't access digital currencies like Bitcoin, for example. Like when I went through the earthquake, and cash was always king because you couldn't access banks, you couldn't go to ATM, you couldn't use cards or anything like that because no one had electricity. So when there's no power, what are you going to use? You need something that you can trade physically. You need physical you need things that have tangible value that people trust. So you need to be able to trade things. I think it's like, don't put all your eggs into one basket either. Like if you're going to buy, one of the crazy things you could probably buy is buy a heap of toilet paper. Obviously, you saw what happened a couple of years ago. buy a heap of toilet paper and you'd be able to trade that, you know? So, when I last used Bitcoin, it was about $10. Yeah. Yeah. Grid down, no crypto, exactly. You know, when the power's down, you got no access to any money then. Like, people use credit cards or debit cards and like they don't carry cash, a lot of the time now, which is just crazy. And they keep pushing this digital currency. Like even the central bank now wants us to have, because they want to be able to control everything that we spend. They want to be able to control whether you go past these carbon credits and so on. They'll cut you off. You can't buy a certain amount of food and like a certain amount of meat and so on. But whenever there's like a power outage, which happens all the time, and especially like now, like in Australia, they're trying this Green New Deal crap, so we get, there's going to be a problem with power anyway. How are you going to access that? How are you going to access buying anything if there's no electricity, right? And these situations always arise, sure, it's not on a daily basis, but it does happen. So, cash is always king. I think it's always good to have cash or something of some kind of value that you can trade. That someone is going to, like, if you have something of any kind of value that other people see the value in, and you can trade for that, like barter. People have always bartered as well, from day dot. So, did you get any of your doctors give credit for carnivore healing? No, no. Um, that I mean, when you're talking to them, like they say, "Oh, yeah, that's interesting," sort of stuff. But I was actually I haven't spoken to my oncologist for a while actually, but last time I spoke to him, I actually was talking to him about this stuff, and he said, "Yeah, like his father was a doctor as well." Um, But he said, like, his father cured his diabetes by just eating meat and not eating and cutting back on carbs, right? Like a more ketogenic style sort of diet. And I said, well, like, it works for other things too, like. And he's like, yeah, well, so on, and he sort of blows it off. Um, And last time I spoke to him, it was like, you haven't taken any medication for the reflux recently. I haven't had any medication for reflux for the last 3.5 years, right? That was the last medication that I had that I was using at the time. And I still do get reflux every now and then if I eat something that I shouldn't, right? For instance, if I took a coffee or something like that. But I just, like, simply, I don't need it. I don't need anything for reflux anymore. And he's asking me why, because he gets reflux. And I said, well, just stop eating carbs, like I told you last time. Like I've been telling him for years, actually, for a lot of years, actually, that I don't eat carbs anymore. But it just sort of passes by, and he's sort of forgets about it, I guess, just the way it is. Yeah. So again, yeah, this is the thing. The dietary guidelines, right? Everyone's hailing this as like this great new success. Sort of, they flipped the pyramid, and yeah, um, and so on. Like it's a big deal. And I guess, in some small respect, at least it has some recognition of the fact that, yeah, eating meat is okay. And you got to start small, right? You always got to start like one step at a time. It's just the way it is. Trying to change people's minds, right? But even if they did give us like a complete new food pyramid, like even if it was just all meat and none of this other crap that people don't need, the biggest problem is the fact that the institutions that teach nutrition, they're all owned and or sponsored by these corporations that actually own the whole food pyramid anyway. So you're never going to get the diet like, well, I think it'd be take decades anyway, probably many decades for like the dietary guidelines to be amended and actually adopted by the Dietetics Association, for example, or Diabetes Association, or Cancer Society, or any kind of university that teaches nutrition, or anything like that. That is just not going to happen for a long time, you know. But not much really changed that in the guidelines. They still kept that like 10% sort of saturated fat. Like that's really not much, you know. So I think we just have to. I think we have to sort of have our um, keep our expectations more realistic, because they're not going to change overnight. As much as we want them to, as much as we want all the change to happen overnight, like whether it's the dietary guidelines, the politicians in around the world, these so-called leaders and so on. Unfortunately, it's just going to take a lot longer than we sort of really want it to take. Yeah, unfortunately. So all you can do is just do your best to. I mean, no one's going to come and save you, right? And then so that, like, the best thing that you can do is take care of your health and try and do your best to make sure that they sort of don't even know you're there, really, I guess, or at least yeah, just avoid all that crap anyway, as much as you can. Yeah. So, sort of hats off to everyone that didn't take the needle as well. Yeah, that's a good thing. It's ridiculous for them to say that a certain food is bad one day and then suddenly it's okay. Yeah, it is. It's all theater. It is. They did the same. Like, have a look at like magazines like Time magazine. Like from one month to the next, like they'll say eggs are great, then the eggs are bad. Full of cholesterol, and then eggs are great again. They're back on the menu. They're back on the plate. It's just, it's all complete nonsense. Honestly, jeez, it gets tiring. It gets very, it's exhausting. Like all the BS that just happens around the world. Mm. And I think the more you do, the more you look at social media too, the sort of the the less you sort of tend to think about people as well, because they're just are so full of it. So many people are just so full of crap. It's not funny. But like I said, no one's perfect 100% of the time, and certainly no one knows everything. So you sort of just take what you can get from some places and sort of try and piece together what you can. I think there's too many sort of special interests, like these social, like that, especially social media is really getting to me recently. It's these influencers and so on. They just speak absolute nonsense, honestly. But people love that stuff. People love clean, polished BS. That's just the way it is. That's why they love propaganda. Like they love the mainstream media. It's all polished bullshit. I had to sucks. I got sick. Oh, okay, both times I kept putting it off when work told me I needed a booster. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is the thing. Like, you're really going to take your health advice from your boss at work? Like, it's crazy. Hey, Juliet, how are you today? Hey, Jonathan in the house. How you doing, man? See, our usual friends are here. Yeah, all the misfits are here. All the misfits. We sort of have, like Rick was saying the other day, it was this sort of outlying sort of group of people sort of finding each other, like all the misfits, I guess. But yeah, it's all good, isn't it? Yeah. I like watching real people in real time. Oh, that's good, Josephine. Yeah. Try to keep it real, as honest as I can. Mm, yeah. So links in the top there if anyone wants to join today. We're just having a bit of chat. Actually, here's a get posted again. Just in case. There we go. Anyone's welcome to join me today. Have a chat. Oh boy, good Josephine. I went to a little book. Wow, a little bit mad. 15 lives in 5 weeks. That's not bad going. 3 a week average. That's very good. Yeah, feeling lots of energy. Yeah, that's good, Juliet. Well done. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here in Australia with these laws, but I guess it's just another thing we just have to sort of sidestep and manage. Yeah. Many my lives are for UK time now. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's peculiar how we found each other in different corners of the globe. Yes, that's true. I'm going to GP on Wednesday for a consultation about the fit I had the other night, according to nice guidelines. Fit. What kind of fit? Like, was it kind of a spasm or something? Was it mean? Or like an epileptic thing? Hopefully I'll catch a few. Yeah. I've had 2 fits without a reason, so I might be epileptic. Oh, okay. Epileptic fits. Okay, that's not good. Well, I hope you get that stuff sorted out, mate. Don't want to be doing that too often. My eldest sister was epileptic, actually. She was so bad they actually cancelled her driver's license. She wasn't allowed to drive for, I think it's like 5 years. Until after she had to have a 5-year period without having an epileptic fit to get a license back. But like she had a crap load of junk food and carbs and so on and so on. But yeah, that's interesting. I hope it's not too bad, man. Hey, just been hasn't been on yet. No, I haven't been on there either, Juliet. So I passed out and my entire room was flipped over. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did a lot of reading and court work. I couldn't work it out. Yeah, okay. I'm covered in cuts, scrapes, and bruises. Yeah, you got to be careful. If you have an epileptic fit like that, you don't want to have anything around you. Um, you know, for obvious reasons. Yeah, hints are good. It's start to communicate. Commutation. Yep. Yep. Cool. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'd be great to catch up and have a chat sometime, Juliet. And obviously, if you've anyway, like I said, the links in the comments there today. If you want to jump on and have a chat, it's all good. Yeah. So, other than that, if you have any questions, thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that, my man. I think there's always good people out there trying to do their best to sort of help in these situations around the world. Like I think like Americans are very lucky. Like I said before, they have these different states they can go to, whereas in Australia, most people are just jumping ship, right? And most people are actually going to all these different Asian countries that are supposedly less free than we are, but obviously they're doing much better over there. Hey, Mandy, good to see you. Yeah, Yeah, I hope you're good there. Thank you. I am. I am very good. Thoughts on protein at bedtime for under muscle. I am 98 pounds, weight 5 foot. Well, that's pretty light and tall. Feel sick. I feel weak. Got to advise cottage cheese. Um, yeah, like if you, I mean, some people are good with dairy, some people are not so good with dairy. I wouldn't take cottage cheese before bed because I mean there are some carbohydrates in it. Jonathan would be the um, he'd probably know more about that than me. He's brilliant with the nutrition. Um, protein drink before sleep is not too bad. For example, like or depending what you obviously have available to you, I would rather eat meat before I sleep rather than I think it's more satiating or fat. Fat is very satiating when you sleep as well. To help you sleep. Um, but yeah, I've got, this. I don't think there's any problem with eating protein before you sleep. And like I've had, especially when I was, going through recovery, and everyone said like you shouldn't eat late at night and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, like I've had midnight meals. I've had like a steak, and it that's what I needed, and it helped me to sleep. So um, I think it's something. It's one of those things that you can sort of play around with and see what feels good for you. You know, I probably wouldn't go with the cottage cheese though. Yeah, Jonathan might have some different thoughts on that. Breathing focus chat. Yeah, sure. I love that. Yeah. Have a class in 15 minutes. Okay. So, that's okay. That's cool. I'll leave playing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Juliet. Rick is usually working on something while listening. Yeah, Rick's always busy. He's always got something going. Yeah, cottage cheese can be quite heavy. Yeah, but it's a good high leucine animal food. That's true. Like DC said, make sure it's full. Yeah, full fat. Yeah, anything like if you're gonna have any kind of dairy, I think just make sure that it's full fat. It doesn't matter if it's like um, if you're using milk or cheese or anything like that. So I would, don't go for that light stuff. So Wendy is going to so happy she's yep. Run a sugar addiction 5 week. Oh, okay. A sugar addiction class, yeah, 5 week wean off sugar for women. I don't mean to laugh when I read a group chat, but it's pretty funny. Yeah, I imagine it would be. You have to have a talk with them tomorrow. They're replacing sugar. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to get rid of that sweet addiction, Yeah, other fake crap. Yeah. Let's see, cool. Thomas and Rick. Got one, two. Awesome. Okay. Fortunately, they get an email through when they get gifted membership. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I'm trying to fix my security cameras. Okay, too bad so far. Yeah, too bad so far. Okay. Yeah, Rick's always fixing something. He's always got something going on. Yeah, some with fermented dairy. Yeah, fermented dairy is much better as well. Yeah, so like yogurt, even yogurt's not bad. Um, yeah, higher fat will have better cultures and more CFUs. Yeah, yeah, colony farming units. Very good. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, um, yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Like, it's any kind of like, especially like the fact that when you have any kind of dairy like that it replaces fat, they always replace the fat with sugar, right? Um, but I mean, obviously, the heavier is the fuller the. I mean, obviously, if you have full fat, it's going to be heavier for one, but obviously, you get healthy fats as well. So, I think you need that if you're okay with dairy anyway. If not, then I think just play around with it and see how you feel. Like I said, I've got no problem at all with eating meat. Even a heavy steak with plenty of fat on it before I sleep either. Um, and again, like it's not like I mean, yeah, doing some sort of activity afterwards to help you digest things does help, but the biggest part of that is actually getting yourself into that ventral vagal state, like the breathing. Like when you go for a walk after a meal, for example, to help with digestion, it's the fact that when you're doing like just a very easy pace walk, you naturally progress into a cardiac coherent sort of breathing, which is about 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, depending on most people, of course. But that relaxed breathing is what gets you into that digestive state where you can, because that's your ventral vagal state actually controls your digestion, and that will improve your absorption by anywhere up to something like some say up to 70%. Okay, so if you are in a sympathetic nervous state, for example, you're losing half the nutrients from your food and that's what causes things like leaky gut and all sorts of things, because it's just like paralyzes your digestive tract and your stomach and everything, and just sort of passes through. So yeah. uh yeah. Yeah, I did see that actually, Rick. I'll stop by and watch that. Posted a quick yogurt making video yesterday. Cool. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you, Juliet. You remember? Yeah. So yeah. Again, like if you're feeling weak too, it could be other things as well. It could be electrolytes, for example. Could be a nervous state as well. So I would think, I mean, and of course, nothing wrong with eating more food. If you're not eating enough, obviously you're going to feel weak and tired all the time, and you're not going to be sleeping very well. You get the same thing happen also if you start overtraining. When you it's it's like you go through an adaptive period as well. Like I've been going through the last couple of weeks as well. When you increase your activity, you need to increase your diet as well. Like start increasing what you are eating and everything to compensate. And through that period, you're probably going to be either you do adapt, but you at first it's kind of like your body is overtraining, and that's going to affect your sleep, and all kinds of other problems sort of arise. You're going to feel tired and weak and so on as well. So it could be a sleep factor as well. Yeah, depending on what you're doing as well. Yeah. What do you think could be the next big biohack to go mainstream? Uh, wow. That'd be, man, if I could predict that, I could probably predict the lottery. Yeah, they come up with some ridiculous crap all the time, don't they? Like ads has started talking about the effects of grounding, so that might get bigger, who knows? I don't know. I think that, yeah, I mean, that's a really difficult thing to, I mean, the 8 habits that I sort of promote, I think all of them are very useful, and important. Probably sunlight, maybe light might be another one that seems to be getting a bit more noticed recently. Different light and so on. Sunlight, perhaps. But like everyone's got a red light therapy sort of stuff going pretty strong now too. I don't know. It could be some crazy crap that just means nothing. So much of it is nonsense. So mainstream wise, I generally have been listening while cooking and cleaning as you sign on. Other yeah, it sounds like Jonathan's got new for these fits. Maybe new DC and Jonathan. I actually ate some pastured local farm pork mince. Oh, okay, 250 grams in weight. Just experiencing exhausted days, needing lots of rest. Okay. I would first thing I would probably look at, Mandy, is my routine. Has it changed? Has your routine changed? Has your diet changed? Like for example, like I said before, like when you increase your activity, for example, you need to increase your diet because especially while your body's adjusting. But yeah, have a look at your activity levels as well. One on the gang has to. Yeah. Okay, doing Jonathan. Yeah, I hope that sort of works out, man. I hope you can get on top of that epileptic fit then. Um, I'm trying to think what could be, a trigger for you. Um, yeah, yeah, you might want to look into that. I'm sure you will. Um, yeah, Mandy, that's what I would do. Have a look at what you've been doing recently. Why, have a look at your lifestyle. Um, maybe either add some food, maybe add some electrolytes. Like when I say add electrolytes, add salt. Okay, like a decent salt. I don't mean go out and buy that crap with all the coloring and flavoring and stuff like that and artificial sweeteners. All right, don't use that stuff. Use salt. That will actually make you feel tired and weak anyway. The fake stuff because you sort of like get that crash, that sort of spike and crash as well. Um, yeah, and then just write it out. Play around with your diet, play around with your lifestyle, and see what happens. All right. But of course, I'm always here to answer any questions if you have any. So, um, I'm not sure about what do you guys think? Jonathan came up with a good question. What do you think is going to be the next biohack that goes mainstream? I mean, like the tried and true sort of stuff, like cold therapy. I think is fantastic, but that was all made pretty popular by Wim Hof and the Iceman and so on. Yeah, Baja Gold, Molden, Celtic Sea Salt. Yeah, Rebens are pretty good salts. Yeah, sea salt's great. I favor the sort of sea salt sort of stuff. Hand harvested stuff is really good. Getting your flakes, it's less processed and it dissolves quite well. So I like that sort of stuff. Other people you are involved with in the deep diving impressed with your fitness that you came in with? Yeah, well, so far I mean, whenever you take up a new sport, like people are they always expect newbies to be be starting like from the absolute base, like a certain base level, right? Um, and they try to teach you, oh, this is how you should breathe and this is what you should do to try and you know prolong your breath holds and so on. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure thing. But then of course you do they have to, when you do when you start some of these classes, like these free diving classes, they test you like just a static breath hold, with like just your face in the water, right? Because it's it's very different to hold your breath out of the water than it is to hold it in, just psychologically. Okay, because like psychologically, when you're out of the water, you're a lot calmer, more relaxed, so you can hold your breath a lot longer because you don't feel like there's nothing stopping you from breathing again when you need to. But when you're underwater or you have a nose clamp on, um, it's a bit of a, you know, psychological game, and you need to calm your heart rate and something like that. So yeah, they were a bit shocked actually. They didn't think I'd be able to. Um, well, they didn't think I'd be able to hold my breath so long anyway. So yeah, it was kind of funny actually. Yeah, I think the GLP-1 medications will go even more. Oh, okay, yeah. Like, I mean, there's always drugs. There's always like whenever there's a if you're talking that side of things rather than, yeah, like people will always go for the pill, like the magic pill. This will work, you know. We'll go more mainstream. The future versions are much more efficacious. Yeah, there's always going to be like actually Abs is talking. I was talking to Abs about breath work actually, and there's these new machines coming out soon, and like the hyperbaric chambers are also getting popular. Actually, you did it. I think Jonathan, you did a video on this recently with the AI video, right? You're talking about hyperbaric chambers for cancer patients, right? Um, which are great. I mean, don't get me wrong, like hyperbaric chambers are great, okay, and very, very useful. But again, like, because you're getting clean, pure oxygen, right? If you do not maintain your CO2 levels, there's nothing actually going to stop or nothing's going to be there for the oxygen to actually get to the cells, right? So you need to be a good, efficient breather as well. You still need to train the way you breathe, I think. It would certainly make it more efficient anyway. But there's also, Abs is saying, like there's these home machines that you will soon be on the market where you can just put these machines on your face mask on and just breathe oxygen. It's kind of like a more portable version of a hyperbaric chamber sort of thing, right? Which obviously is things like that. Anything that's going to make these like breath work or anything else easier, where you take a drug, lose fat sort of thing. People are going to go for it. That's just the way people are. People are lazy and they don't want to. If there's an easy way to do something, they'll do it. But again, like really seriously, people need to think about what's really going to work and what's going to be healthy. Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I like your lives and videos. Thank you. Always interesting. Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Juliet. Great. Jonathan. Good evening. Julie. Yeah, HPOT is very good. Yeah. Yeah. Just very time consuming and expensive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've got one of my Polish clients to buy one. His blood work and health is immaculate. Well, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I mean, there's not to say like these things. I mean, there are new things that are coming out that do work, that do help. Um, but again, like if you don't have to spend the money, you know, why spend money just for the sake of spending money? When you can do it for free. Mm. Yeah, breathing the right way is so important. Yeah, yeah. It even like I said, like even when you are in a controlled environment, like a hyperbaric chamber or anything like that, or have a face mask for oxygen and things like that, you still need to have a controlled breathing pattern. you need the CO2 levels up, to be there so that oxygen can get to the cells. Um, Celtic sea salt, but tiny amount that's been added this week. Salt, but tiny amount that's been added this week. My foods are lamb, pork, halibut, salmon, removed eggs. Good. Okay. Why did you definitely less inflammation and brain fog? Tried Swiss cheese, fatty is there and stopped. Okay. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, some people even have trouble with eggs, and that's you might find that if you've removed eggs, did you replace that with anything else? So, are you eating less food total? That could be the problem. You know, add more salt. You see, like I use actually quite a fair bit of salt. When you think about, like, I have salt is always in my water. Okay, because I once my water is treated, I remineralize it with salt. So every time I drink water, I'm drinking the salt as well. It's also in my ice bath. Okay, I have a lot of salt in my ice bath. It's like salt water. It's like the ocean salt water. Okay, so I absorb a lot of those minerals while I'm sitting in the ice bath, and I sit in the ice bath like minimum 10 minutes, sometimes 20 or longer minutes. So, um, I really do get a lot of salt, and of course, I always salt my food when I cook. Um, I whether it's eggs, steak, or anything else, I always salt that. So I get through a lot of salt. You how are your trainers in diving eating? Most of them are carb eggs. They're all yeah, like fitness industry. It doesn't matter what sport, right? We've all been told, like carbo loading is actually a good thing, right? And you got to get all your veggies and fruit and fiber and antioxidants and vitamins and all that sort of crap. So most of them they're all the same. It's just the way it is. It'd be pretty hard pressed trying to, like, and it's always, when you do a different sport, like when I was coaching, when I was a strength coach, for example, like in Japan for basketball players, right? Um, they always think like, oh, this sport's a different, it's a different animal, like then like their skills coach, because I was just their strength coach, right? So I just made them stronger to play the game. But their skills coach was always arguing, it's like, this is it's a different animal. Like, you have to get, like, he was into this, take them for like 10-kilometer runs or 20-kilometer runs for basketball, which is just insane. Why would you, like, on the court, you run maybe 2-3 seconds, 5 tops, right? So why do half a marathon? It's stupid. Um, so like there's always that same mentality though. It doesn't matter what sport you go to or what area you go to. There's always like, oh, this is a different animal. You need to have this. You need to have that sort of thing. And you know, free diving is no different. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I never thought my voice was actually that good. Actually, I don't really like listening to myself, honestly. I'm thinking breathing techniques may be the next biggie in our community. I've heard of a couple of health coaches how adding breathwork into their business on top of carnivore. Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, breathwork has always been something I've touted like from day one, because it's um, controlling your nervous system and controlling the way you breathe makes everything work, more efficiently, right? And I mean, obviously carnivore diet, they supplement each other as well. Like I said, it's all a symbiotic sort of relationship, and it's the same with ice bath. These three in particular, and grounding, and of course sunlight, and they all connect. They all promote each other, and they all stimulate each other. So it's really a great combination. Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate that, my man. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it so much, Jonathan, because answer the questions. Yeah. Yeah, he does. Yeah, actually, it's good. It's always good to have Jonathan in the comments there. Kind of, kind of nervous too, because you don't want to say something stupid about nutrition, because he'll just jump on you. But it's always good to refer to Jonathan. Actually, he's brilliant when it comes to nutrition. One of the best out there. So you guys should certainly get to know him. Yeah, Breathwork is about 50% of my clients' programs. Well, that's good. Excellent. They're pretty consistent with it, fortunately. Well, that's good. I think it should be. I think it should be. It should be. It doesn't matter like what kind of athlete you are or what sport you do. You need to be an efficient breather, right? You need to be able to get as much oxygen to the cells as possible, for one. And the more cells you have, like the more blood cells, for example, you have, then obviously the better you're going to perform, right? And again, it doesn't matter what sport you do, whether you're trying to grow muscles like bodybuilders, or you're any kind of endurance athlete, or any kind of athlete. Being an efficient breather is always going to benefit your sport or your health for that sport, right? So, yeah, I think anyone who doesn't take breath work on board, it's just that they're really missing out on at least half of their abilities. It's crazy. Yeah. Good question, Jonathan. That's great. Is breathing the right ways important? Yeah. Yeah. Like actually, like I said before, this is a really good book I'm going through at the moment, The Shaolin Spirit, Shi Heng Yi. Right. And I've talked about this before, like different cultures that still not so much, they're not really that ancient, but like the Shaolin monks are like 1500-year-old culture, right? But these breathwork techniques are tens of thousands of years old, and even what the Shaolin monks refer to as the right way to breathe, the correct breathing method, right? They have a 3-layer. It's actually yogic breathing. So like you start with the belly, then you feel the chest, and then you feel what they call it. Then you do what's called clavicle breathing, where you open up the chest, you spread the chest back, and you stack the air on top of your lungs, basically, and you sort of fill yourself right up. Now they do this because they believe that like filling yourself up with as much energy, like life force, or they call chi, as possible when they breathe. And then when they release the air, they said even to try and fit more air in, they'll raise their chin when they do the clavicle breathing. They sort of spread their elbows in and pull their chest back, and they'll keep breathing with their chin up in the air. Then as they release the air, they push their tongue to the back of the teeth and make an S hiss or on the way out. This restricts the airflow on the way out. So you have a really slow, prolonged exhale. Okay. I'm actually going to do a video on this, but I just sort of haven't been able to get around to it. So much going on, but we'll do a breath session like this. Actually, I will do a breath session with you very soon. We'll start with, say, cardiac coherent breathing, and we'll stretch it out. We'll go from 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, and we'll stretch it all the way out to 1 breath per minute. Okay. And we'll just, we'll take it slow, and we'll see how you go. We'll also, you can do the same with box breathing, 4-7-8, and so on. These are just numbers like the beginner Hara breathing video that you can get on my channel at the moment, where it's 6 seconds in, 5-second hold, and 10 seconds out, I think it is. That's just like a beginner level to help you with your CO2 tolerance, so that you can breathe in slower and breathe out slower. Okay, and eventually what we'll do is we'll extend that out as long as we can, because that builds, one, your CO2 tolerance, be able to control your breath more, but it's also, I mean, it's controlling your nervous system and being able to see a lot of that, a lot of the breath hold, actually 80% of it is really mental. It's really about um, it's anxiety that sort of that tricks you into thinking that you need to breathe sooner than you really do. Okay, and that's why like a different. That's why, like, I've recently, for the free diving, for example, I put myself in different circumstances that actually build anxiety to try and train myself to control that anxiety so that I can hold my breath for longer. All right. So you do tolerance training, like I said, like breath hold sprints, breath hold. You can do it static. Okay. You can do it apnea walking. Okay. You can do apnea sprints. You can do um, dry training, wet training. You can do all kinds of things that actually I will go through a video for this as well, actually, because I think it's important for people to understand as well. But there are ways that it's not really so much training your body to, I mean, it is obviously training your body to handle like gain CO2 tolerance, but it's also about training you mentally to be able to feel comfortable, to be able to slow your or reduce your anxiety about not breathing. Because, like I said, like 80% of it is just anxiety about not actually being able to breathe, right? Yeah. I know personality I learned through cognitive therapy. Oh, that's good. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Breathing wrong can really actually cause a lot of problems. When you are, like, for example, if you are mouth breathing while you're sleeping, for example, for say 7 hours of mouth breathing, you wake up with anxiety. If you continue that throughout the day, sort of thing, it's only going to get worse. So you elevate your nervous system. If you have a look at the polyvagal chart, and you go from, you get that sort of hyper alert, paranoid, anxiety, and then eventually, like, if it's not corrected, then you get into that dorsal vagal state where you get depression and so on and so on. Um, so it's I mean, it's great that we can consciously control that. I mean, even though our breathing is like an automatic thing, when we do when we're in that anxiety sort of state, that raises our heart rate, our blood pressure. It your body shuts down its digestive system because it's in that fight or flight sort of mode. It's not ready to eat, so you lose a lot of nutrients. Um, but it sort of rebounds as well, because like 80 to 85% of all signaling in your body actually comes from the body to the brain. So when you wake up in that anxiety state and you've got high blood pressure or high heart rate sort of thing, that's going to bounce back that signal back to your brain and realize that, okay, the heart's racing sort of thing. So then it elevates the nervous system, and then that bounces back to the heart and elevates the heart rate again. So it just keeps doing that, you know. And that what you are doing by not regulating that, you are training your nervous system to always overreact. So this is why you do these hormetic stresses like ice baths and breath work and breath holds and all these other things, because you are training your autonomic nervous system to handle or how to handle stressful situations, right? So, for example, when you jump in the ice bath and you just do a nice slow cardiac coherent sort of breathing, or just 4-7-8 or anything, or box breathing or anything like that, to relax the body, you are there, you are training that your nervous system to, okay, this is how you react in a stressful situation. Slow down the breathing, calm your nervous system, and that's eventually exactly what's going to happen with every other stressful situation. Okay. Uh, Geez, I tend to use mostly with the ones that are already optimized. Yeah, some folks just need to get glued to the dietary approach. Yeah, that's true. So I don't want to overwhelm. Yeah, I mean, whenever you're taking any kind of client or for any kind of whatever, any kind of sport, I mean, you can only introduce so much at a time, right? If you just throw, okay, you've got to do all these 8 things every day, like just pile that on top of them, they panic. You know, that's just too much. It's too much for them. You got to give them like adaptation time, don't you? You got to like, okay, let's do this. They get used to that. Okay, now let's do this step by step. That's the way you move. That's the way you move, one step at a time. Amy in class with me right now. Cool. She and CB can make in Dr. Berry's coaching. Oh, okay. I didn't know Dr. Berry has coaching actually, but Nisha and the coaches actually teach us. Okay. My student, I find it most beneficial traveling. Yeah, breathwork. I mean, in every situation, you can do it. This is the good thing about breathwork too, right? You can do it anywhere, anytime. You can do it, on a bus with someone sitting right next to you, and they would not even notice. Especially, like if you're doing cardiac coherent breathing, or box breathing, or just any sort of, yes, even nadi shodhana, really, slow inhalations, slow exhalations, they shouldn't even hear you breathing. No one should hear you when you breathe, okay, on a normal given moment. So you can do a very, very slow inhale, exhale anywhere at any time, and no one's going to notice at all, okay? I have a friend who is a very avid local cyclist. When he describes his hunger symptoms and his diabetes, I told him what he eats is creating pre-diabetic pattern. Yeah, exactly. He seems to resent my saying it. Yeah, well, that's the way people are, They think they're doing the right thing. I was the same when I was young, before I was diagnosed. I studied sports and exercise science in school, and that's the healthy diet was low fat, carb loading. Like before an event, before like even when I was doing triathlon and marathons, and my coach would say, "Don't forget, you got to eat a heap of carbs, the week before, right? So every day for a week before." And it just made you feel so heavy. Like when it came down to the race, like I had to lose 5 kilos just to race, right? It's crazy. Thinking back now, absolutely crazy. But that's they think they're doing the right thing, and of course they kind of resent being told that no, you're not. Yeah. But you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. It's yeah, same. I have a deep, rough voice. Playing bingo calling, bingo calling. Fair enough. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much for the super sticker, Mandy. I really, really, really appreciate that. I really do. What is the easiest electrolyte to make at home or buy, and how important is it to drink just a lot of water? Like I said before, I don't buy electrolytes. I use a lot of salt, and salt is a natural electrolyte. Okay, you get all the minerals that you need. Because there's a lot more to. I mean, I know some people have had trouble, when they, especially when they're going through the early stages of adapting their diet to carnivore diet or any diet. They go through these like electrolyte dumps and so on. But I have never used electrolyte replacements or anything like that. I don't like the fact that they have flavorings and colorings and sweeteners and so on. Okay. Get yourself a good mineral salt. I use, like here in Australia, there's a Murray River pink salt flake. It's hand harvested, A sea salt, okay, is really great. Hand harvested is always the best, but just get the best that you can that is available to you. Um, but I said, like as I said, I use a lot of it though. I use salt for when I treat my water. I remineralize it with salt, with a good mineral salt. My ice bath is like salt water because I have that much salt in it, magnesium salts and sea salt. Okay, so I absorb that while I'm sitting in the bath for nearly 20 minutes. Um, and of course, I always put salt on my food, whether I'm eating eggs, steak, or anything else. So I take a lot of salt in. So that way, your electrolytes level should be really good. Um, yeah, that's a good point, Gemma. Yeah, at least you've tried to help him. You can't say that you didn't try. So, I'll be on the lookout for the videos like Breathwork. Oh, good. Yeah. Um, yeah, I've got to just do some more explaining videos and I'll put my top CO2 tolerance training videos up soon because these are methods that I'm actually using now, especially for free diving, because a lot of it is, like I said before, 80% of it's all mental. Like I can hold my breath if like on an exhale hold, for example, I can hold my breath quite well. On an inhale hold, fairly well as well. Like between 7 and 8 minutes, depending on what's going on. Nervous system wise, though, that your nervous system really controls that because you get anxiety if you're in an anxious state. It tricks you into thinking that you need to breathe now, and that's what you have to get used to as far as kind of get used to that mental sort of thing. It's only 20% physical, really. And that actually, you'd be surprised how fast your body adapts to breath holds and CO2 tolerance. Actually, it's pretty good. Mm. Not good to hear. So, yeah, can do the thing everyone can hear, clear over the storm. Yeah. Yeah, breath session would be awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, there are breathwork videos there for you, but I'll put up something, like I said, like we'll do something like from beginner to advanced. We'll stretch it out from 5 seconds in to all the way down to like 1 breath per minute. Okay. It might take about half an hour or so. But I'll put up some other ones as well, like to help you with the CO2 tolerance training. Okay. So I'll put that up very soon. Yeah. He drinks wine at night too. Oh wow. Yeah. We were at a stadium a couple of years ago. He loudly wondered why he gets so hungry and ate a large pretzel. Huh? Well, that could be a reason. They're like, whenever there's someone like, there's always people like that, right? They say, I always get so hungry. I always eat so much food because I do so much sport, right? But they don't actually look at what they are eating. I mean, what nutrients, honestly, do you get from a pretzel? Seriously. Yeah. Oh, well, it's just the way people are. Yes, so true. Yeah, pretzel Pete. Yeah, yeah. It was funny the other day, actually. Pete was doing the live and he's sitting there eating a mandarin. He's like, Papa Carnival. Fair enough. Whatever. I have a I've practiced calming myself down a few times in my life when I had devastating hiccups that would quadruple. Yeah, and quintuple up. I could have panicked, but didn't. Yeah, reflux did that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a good example. Like things like hiccups can be a nervous system reaction, right? Um, but yeah, just take some deep breaths and relax, and try and relax the nervous system as much as you can. And this is the good thing too, is like it really doesn't take long to do that. Like even 1 minute really, you start relaxing in the first breath, like a first deep breath. Like I'll give you one to practice right now. Okay. Now this is what the Shaolin monks, or it's actually yogic breathing, but the Shaolin monks use this, right? So you fill up your breath, you fill up your life, you fill up your whole body with chi, or energy. We start with, put your hand on your belly and fill your belly as much as you can. All right, just like filling up a balloon. Let it rise. Okay, you're filling up your belly with air, and then move to your, like, just below your chest, where your diaphragm is. And then slowly, just very slowly, just slowly, as slow as you can, as slow as you feel comfortable breathing, right? Breathing in through the nose, fill the belly, and then next, put your hand up onto your diaphragm and fill the chest, fill the diaphragm up. Okay, really fill the diaphragm like 360 degrees, spread it out. Now pull your shoulders back, your elbows in, and open the chest up. Okay, and just lift your chin a little bit and fill as much air in here as you can. Right? Now just slowly put your tongue at the back of your teeth and make a hiss sound like this. But this time you're going to relax the air out from the top down. So when you breathe in, you go from the bottom up. When you breathe out, you go from the top down. Okay, so relax the shoulders, just drop the shoulders as you breathe out, then relax the chest, and then slowly empty the belly. Okay, even just that one breath, you can feel a real relaxation. Okay, the whole body, just your muscles, everything, just you drop the chest, and then you just really relax. Okay, so try and inhale as slowly as possible. You shouldn't hear yourself inhale. Tongue, and just like that on that exhale, as slowly as you can. And it's very relaxing, very relaxing. Now they tend to do, like the Shaolin monks, they'll do this with like Tai Chi sort of movements or Kung Fu movements, that in very slow form, like Shu Qing Gong, and these different routines. So they'll add movements like like breathing in, and then breathing out. So you have to do really long, slow, controlled breathing. He calls himself no. He calls himself Pretzel Pete. That's good. Oh, hello, Hedge. They say you're doing so well. Your appearance is proof. And self-belief, discipline, dedication, and awareness. Yes, well, it's all about keeping your routine, and doing what you need to do. So, I saw that on the chair. The last time I had hiccups like that was 3 years ago, and lasted 15 days. Oh my god, yeah, it was very alarming. Yeah, that would be 15 days. You make that. I mean, that just makes you sick, doesn't it? And when you can't get rid of them, it sort of wires your immune your nervous system, doesn't it, into that anxiety sort of state. Definitely sleep better with tape. Oh, that's good. Yeah, if I miss taping, I feel so different. Yeah, of course. Been taping for a good year or more. Positive results for me. You advised me, DC. Never looked back. Oh, I'm glad, Mandy. I'm really, really glad that's helped. I use a chin strap. Even now, I still do. I use a chin strap because obviously, like, tape's not going to be real good with the beard. But yeah, it makes a very big difference to make sure that you are breathing only through the nose. And like if you wake up with a blocked nose, for example, that's a sign that you're mouth breathing. It's while you're sleeping, for example. I mean, there are other telltale signs as well, like getting up to go to the bathroom and so on. But you sleep so much deeper and get a much fuller sleep when you are only breathing through the nose. It makes a very big difference to your sleeping patterns and, of course, your energy levels the next day. And, of course, the way you think. So Amy was doing Dr. Kiltz's A class, not Barry's. Okay. Any ideas on whether tolerance of heat, humidity, or extreme temperatures can be influenced with diet? Well, yeah, actually there is. I mean, high fat diet, for example, makes you more tolerant to either heat and or cold. People who have a high fat diet, for example, don't need to drink as much water because your body makes water, right? It makes easy water, like exclusion zone water. And of course, because fat makes 3 times more like easy water in your body, in your cells, than carbohydrates do. So there's good proof there. Also CO2 and ATP. All right. So high fat diets are actually very good for for hot countries, summer, and so on. Hydration, and but also gives you more tolerance to the cold as well. So yeah, there's a lot of actually quite a few good studies on that. Just me too. I watch replays. I leave for me with Mitch. Yeah, Mitch is pretty funny, old bugger. Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Yeah, Himalayan sea salt. The Himalayan salt's not bad. The pink salt. Again, like whatever you have available, but that is actually harvested with like dynamite. So there's actually usually quite a bit of other stuff mixed in with that sort of stuff. If you want to measure like how good your salt is, for example, just drop a handful into your water, and whatever doesn't dissolve is not salt. Right. So sometimes you might get sand or dirt or gunpowder and stuff like that in there as well. But just easy test, just drop it in some water, stir it around a bit until it's dissolved, and whatever doesn't dissolve is not salt. I'm with you, Juliet. Yeah, drink myself. 7:30. Wow, that's late. I'm up between 4 and 5 each morning. Yeah. Getting into the ice as quickly as possible. I use less salt nowadays because of my high blood pressure. Salt doesn't give you high blood pressure. All right. Salt doesn't. All right. This is another one of those lies or myths that salt causes high blood pressure, or so like more often than not, it's your nervous system that's giving you high blood pressure. Like I was talking about before, if you're in that ventral vagal, if you're in that sympathetic nervous state, carbohydrates will give you high blood pressure, and plaque and stuff like that on your heart and everything like that. Carbohydrate, sugar, does that, right? Not salt. So adding salt, you might actually lower your blood pressure because you have more electrolytes, is going to give you more energy and so on. Like you might find that adding salt back in might lower your blood pressure. Okay, because it'll help with, I mean, when you feel better, obviously your nervous system gets, calms down as well. Yeah, it's Juliet West, Juliet, because can't do killed Smith 3 a.m. Yeah, that's pretty early. It's Friday, so it's electronics late. My boundary is 8 p.m. Okay, central. Yeah, I agree. I usually sleep pretty early. DC, I think breathing exercise is so important for our health, physical and mental. Oh, you're most welcome. No, I totally agree. I think breath work and the way, being an efficient breather, I think it's easily as important as diet, as nutrition. But in some ways, I think it's actually more important Okay, because like I said before, you are regulating your nervous system as well. It's not, and your nervous system, especially like your vagus nerve, is associated, like connects to all of your organs, and so how your hormones are produced and so on. That's all connected. Um, and of course, like I said, like these all complement each other, though. The carnivore diet, breath work, ice bathing, grounding, these all complement each other. But the three must do, I think, is diet, ice baths, and breath work. Okay, and I think breath work is more important than diet, honestly, because if you are in a sympathetic nervous state, like I said before, it destroys your digestion. Okay, you get leaky gut problems. It slows down. Obviously, if you're not in rest and digest, if you're not in that digestion mode, okay, the ventral vagal state, okay, then obviously you're not going to be not absorbing the nutrients, which is going to affect your lymphatic system. Okay, it's also going to affect hormone production like EPO, testosterone, D3, all of these. And of course, that's also going to affect your blood cell production and everything else, right? As well as giving you high blood pressure, high heart rate, low heart rate volume, and everything like that. So, yeah, I think breath work is it's important. It's very important. It's vital. Yeah, it should be a must for everyone. Yeah, me too, Queen of Replay. Queen of Replay. I have to see DC tonight. It's very interesting just before Cindy in. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm doing this breathing exercise with you. Thank you. Oh, excellent. Very good. I hope it feels good. Like I said before, like try to do it as slow as possible, but that doesn't mean that you have to be uncomfortable doing it. Okay, because like you're doing these practices, the more you do it, the slower you'll get at it, and because that builds up your CO2 tolerance. Okay. So I like to do it to a point where on the exhale, you sort of get that gag reflex, that where you feel like you need to breathe. That is basically just anxiety telling you that you need to breathe. And you get that when you're underwater, especially, you get that a lot. But it's about knowing that reflex there is actually training your body to handle the CO2 tolerance, and you know what's happening, so you can calm down a bit. And when you feel that, try to lower your heart rate. Okay, you can consciously lower your heart rate while you're breathing out. Just calm down your nervous system. Just relax. You know why it's doing that. And say, okay, let's slow the heart rate down and feel it. Just feel the heart rate. Just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and just calm yourself down. Okay, and that's worked for me for water. Because when I first started this deep the free diving training, I was getting, even though I could hold my breath for a very long time. I mean, not compared to some of these other free divers, but out of the water, I can hold my breath quite well. But underwater, because I haven't swum for quite a while, actually, quite a long time. But I was getting this anxiety taking over, and like I was swimming maybe 15 meters before I was telling myself I have to breathe, sort of thing. But now I'm doing like 50 meters quite easily, just 50 meters very comfortably underwater with just one inhale. That's not relaxing. That's not because when you free dive, you need to hold on to the air for the trip back, right? So you need to hold on to it so when you take the breath in, you can't sort of breathe that air out to relax on the way down, sort of thing. So you have to hold on to that until you start going back up. Oh, I'm glad it is. I find it very relaxing too. Actually, that's good. I'm interested in adding Tai Chi to my. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a really good way to start the day. I mean, Tai Chi incorporates a good breathing technique. Okay. But what you're doing is like do it barefoot, you're outside, getting the circadian biology, you're grounded, you're doing breath work, and you are warming up the body, you're moving the body, so it's really going to help stimulate the lymphatic system and stuff as well. So great thing to be doing. Does anyone recommend a good beginner Tai Chi channel? Um, hmm, Good question. I don't know any. I had to evacuate my home. I poured bleach on a stain. Okay, it was cat. Oh, okay, cat urine. Yeah, that I would. Yeah, pour as much bleach on that as you can, mate, to get rid of that smell. That's pretty rough. Well, I hope it dies down for you soon, mate. How do you know if you're snoring if you're asleep? I don't. I don't think I snore, but I could tape myself. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Videotape yourself while you're sleeping. It'll find out. It might find something very funny, actually. Um, you know, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but my wife, she snores quite well. And sometimes it's kind of like, you ever seen a bulldog snoring? They sort of snort the area and go, and then the jowls, like they do that floppy cheek thing. It's like that's hilarious. I love watching that. It's absolutely hilarious. Um, but yeah, yeah, you could do that again. Like mouth taping is really going to help you with snoring as well. Okay, so because it forces you to only breathe in and out through the nose, and it'll certainly give you a much deeper sleep as well. Yeah, I hope the bleach doesn't take over too much, mate. I did that water test with Redmond. Oh yeah, that's why I switched to the Gold and Celtic Sea. So yeah, good job. Yeah. I also have a problem with ribbons not dissolving. Yeah, well, it depends on. I mean, if it's not dissolving, it's not salt, so there must be something else in there. Um, you better focus on class. Okay, Juliet. Yeah, take it easy. Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think it's funny as hell. Funny watching anyway. Yeah. All right, that's good. Yeah, so that's I mean, there's many reasons why. I mean, breath work is really good. When you're awake as well, I think for anyone, like especially beginners, right? To train your nervous system to breathe properly through your nose, because this is an ability that we actually lose if you go through your life just mouth breathing all the time. You actually lose the ability to breathe through your nose, and it's really hard work to start retraining your system, because it actually your nasal cavity will actually close up. All right. And some people even need an operation. All right. And breathing, it actually does, like especially through the developing years. If you're a teenager, for example, this will actually shape your face differently too if you are mouth breathing or nose breathing. um so it's really important stuff. But yeah, I mean, to train your autonomic nervous system, I recommend usually like 5 minutes first thing in the morning, 5 minutes at lunchtime, and then 5 minutes before you sleep. Just a very simple process of cardiac coherent breathing. And it's really just about building conscious awareness of the way you breathe. Okay. So like do this 3 times a day, 5 seconds in through the nose, 5 seconds out through the nose. And depending on how bad your system is at the time, you may need to force yourself to breathe. In that case, I recommend the Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. Because I do this actually when if you get a cold or a flu coming on, like before it takes hold, if you start getting a blocked nose, I force myself to breathe in each nostril. And nadi shodhana is really, really good for that. So you just use your index finger and your thumb, okay, and you breathe, like block one nostril and breathe in, say for 5 seconds, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in, then swap and breathe out the other nostril for 10 seconds. Okay, breathe out for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then breathe back in through that same nostril. Then swap nostrils for the exhale. Now, even if you have a blocked nose to start with, if you force yourself to do this, which I do, especially if I have a blocked nose, I force myself to breathe out. I guarantee that your nasal passages will clear up, like within just a few minutes, and you'll breathe a lot better throughout the rest of the day. Okay, I think that's one of the best breathing techniques there are actually. There are others that you can incorporate that actually help you produce more antioxidants, like nitric oxide. All right. See, this is another great thing. Like CO2 is actually like an antioxidant enabler. Okay. And then you have nitric oxide, which is a very strong antioxidant. So we produce antioxidants ourselves. We don't need to take them from all this bullshit BS about like berries and all that other crap that only oxidize in your stomach anyway, and actually cause more damage than anything else. We produce our own antioxidants, right? So nitric oxide is a very powerful one. Then you got glutathione, right, which you actually get from amino acids from meat and eggs and other things, right? Carnivore diet. Then you have like CO2, which is the enabler for the signaling molecule for these antioxidants. But CO2 is also the signaling molecule for oxygen to actually be delivered to the cells, right? And when it comes out of the system, when you carry when the breath comes out, that's how you lose fat as well. When you breathe out, it carries the fat with it, sort of thing. But CO2 and nitric oxide are also very strong vasodilators. Okay, so if you have a headache, if you have muscle cramps or anything like that, it could be that you are low on nitric oxide. You are also low on CO2. Okay, this muscle cramps, it all becomes like from vasorestriction. Same with headaches. Okay, it's all about vasorestriction. But there are breathing techniques that will help you increase your nitric oxide production, for example. Like nitric oxide is so important. You can get it when you go out in the sun. It's not just D3 that stimulate. The sun stimulates D3 from your skin. Okay, it also stimulates nitric oxide. And you also get nitric oxide from meat, okay, from again amino acids from meat, all right. But the biggest producer are like little glands in your sinus passages. If you can vibrate those sinus passages by humming, it's actually been a measurable difference of 15 times more nitric oxide, all right. So these are really good exercises to help you, right? Especially if you feel a cold coming on or anything like that, these are things that I do to combat that straight away. Your wife, if she found out you mentioned the snoring, should we put? Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that was funny. Yeah, actually, it's just always reminding me. It's so funny that she does that, but yeah, it is what it is. So again, it's about retraining the way you breathe, and about training because we just breathe automatically as part of our autonomic nervous system, right? Because if we had to remind ourselves to breathe at all, people, especially these days, like I'm pretty sure a vegan would just completely forget how to breathe. They just don't have the capacity to think about that stuff. But in training that, right, you will eventually just automatically do this. Right? So that's the point. Like, you can consciously access your autonomic nervous system and train that nervous system to then later do this completely automatically later on. You know, the Plains Indians in America, for example, this is all factual. Okay, like there's they only ever ate buffalo. They were at the time that the like the British went to America, the Plains Indians were the tallest people, or the tallest race in the world. All right, all averaging about 6'3", I think it is. They only ever ate buffalo. Okay, like, well, ruminant animals anyway. All right, and their belief was that, okay, meat was food diet, and breath work. Okay, because every culture around the world, doesn't matter how ancient these cultures are, like Siberian shamans to, you know, India, even Australian Aborigines, American Indians, everywhere, Vikings, and further back Romans, they all have breath work in their culture. The Plains Indians believed so much that breath work was medicine. Okay, and they have all these different, actually quite a number of different techniques. They have like these sweat lodges that they do, and where they're kind of similar to holotropic sort of breath work, and it lasts hours. Okay, but one of the rituals that they did was, like, when there was a newborn child, the women would sit around the clock watching the baby sleep. Okay, and whenever it started mouth breathing, they would close its mouth to force it to learn how to breathe through the nose. Okay, very interesting stuff, really interesting. But, you know, of course, you know, at modern day society, our society, especially the West, who does that? You know? Yeah. I think a channel about breathing would be awesome for you to do. Of course, clickbait, but so many today have anxiety and depression. This would help so many. Oh, thank you. Actually, I have been thinking about that, actually. Yeah, actually, I have been thinking about doing that. It might get a lot more views, actually, than the channel that I've got now. I have been trying to review these sorts of things, so it might be in the cards, actually. So keep an eye out for maybe the breathworks. Okay, I'm certainly thinking about doing that, but I think it's. Well, of course, you know, I'll always be carnivore diet, and you know, always we'll probably talk about it a little bit at least. But I think that this is one way that actually can, you know, help, you know, a broader range of people to access, like, to help control their own health as well, and try and get them on the right path. Because, like, this was, I mean, apart from, like, when I came out of the transplant, for example, the only thing I could eat was meat. That was the only thing that didn't burn my mouth, even though, like, eventually I did eat other things because I was trying everything to try and avoid doing that again. But the only other thing that I tried afterwards, I like consciously tried doing after that, was breath work, right? Because that has made a huge difference, a profound difference to my life, and my health. So this, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I also I've never said that, like, this is, you know, like diet, for example, is, you know, the cure all for all, you know, all this sort of stuff, because I know there's other modalities that we need to do. You can't just rely on one thing. But I do believe that breathwork is one of the most important, and certainly then diet and ice baths as well, like make a profound difference, really. So yes, I am thinking about a breathwork channel, with, of course, I think another thing that goes hand in hand with that is ice bath work or cold therapy anyway. So maybe talking about that sort of thing as well. And I think it might appeal to more people, perhaps. Chlorine smell finally. Oh, okay. Chlorine smell finally dissipated. Oh, that's good, man. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to handle, isn't it? That's hard to handle, the bleach. Yeah. Once you got that in there, it's like it takes hours. You got to open up every window and try and get rid of it, especially if you pour a lot on it. So, but yeah, it's I don't know, still kind of a toss up between the cat urine, though, isn't it? And the cat urine will probably last a lot longer. Yeah. So that's one good thing about getting them fixed as well. They don't spray as much. So fair enough. All right, guys. Well, we've been going for just over 2 hours. If you have any more questions, toss them at me. Otherwise, I think we'll leave it there for today. And yeah, there will be. I think I've got another two lives coming up next week as well. But like I said, I will try and get these breathwork videos. There are some breathwork, like mostly beginner stuff, up on my channel now. But I'll try and get some more of these more prolonged sort of breathing exercises up for you. Okay. No questions. Just fighting my computer. Fair enough. Yep. Yeah, of course, incorporate carnivore, but there are so many carnivores. Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's so many of them. I can't even keep up. Yeah, on the same. Breathing and cold plunge with DC sounds great. Yeah, that sounds good. Have a great day. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us, Cynthia. I really appreciate it. I'm heading to bed. Take it easy. Hope you sleep well. All right, everyone. Thanks very much. I really do appreciate you all joining in. It's been a great chat, and we'll chat again soon. Okay. All right. So I hope you all have a great weekend. And for all the Australians, it's Monday is Australia Day. Don't be afraid to celebrate it. It's about a country that it's about celebrating everyone who lives here. About celebrating the whole country. So I'll see you all next time, and take care. Thanks, everyone.